Hello, everybody. We are excited to be here today. We've been working pretty hard on creating a feature I think that will be useful for everybody using Magicschool AI. To start off the day, we're going to do a quick self-evaluation on where we are in relation to our dispositions with AI. And so there's three questions. And then to the right, you can see there are the stages, which will blow up here in a second. But question one, identify which level you're at. Question two, how would you compare the level you're at versus the next one up? And then three, what steps do you need to take to adapt from the level you're at? What questions would you need answered?
We're going to go ahead and make this bigger for you. If you need to, you can always pause the screen or come back to these questions, but we want you to be able to see this.
Stage one is, fear of AI, where we all were when about 2 years ago, right now. Is it?
Yep.
And then going all the way up to fully adopted, like you're in sync with it. You're using it. It's fully integrated into everything you're doing. You've figured out new ways to apply it. I think one thing to note is that we bounce around on this. I know that I've been probably up to 8 and then read an article about something that freaked me out and it dropped me right back to a 1.
Also had that experience that depending on what I encounter, I spend more time usually in the upper stages, but sometimes I'm like, "Oh, wait, I am," just like you just said, like, I'll encounter something and be like, "Oh, is that?" As new possibilities come, this is very much moving back and forth through those stages.
So let's go ahead and get started. Today, we're going to be looking at how to use Magicschool AI to make your life easier. As an ELA teacher, I pretty much did not have nights and weekends ever until summer. And I know many of you feel the same way with the grading load and the feedback load with writing. And so today we built some stuff and we're going to show you how you can have a targeted feedback tool and get information right away on where your students are using this. Our learning intention is I'm learning to use Magicschool AI to use for a common formative writing assessment so that I can get timely targeted feedback to guide my instruction. And the success criteria is I'll know I've learned it when I have my students use Magicschool AI to get feedback on their writing and when I use it to identify their trends in their writing. Who are we? My name is Scott Christensen. I've taught English language arts in secondary schools, many states, and I am the AI systems wingman to the pilot who is Emma Moss. And yeah, I'm the district specialist. I work with quite a few teams.
Perfect. And as Scott introduced me, I am the AI systems pilot. I guess I co-lead this team with Jonathan Stewart. Scott is a part of that AI team and is a phenomenal part of it. We're really glad that he's on that team. My main role is as a digital teaching and learning specialist, which is part of how I got involved with AI. And then I also work on things like assessment, which helps bring that expertise into this lens when we're looking at writing feedback, because this is a formative assessment. So excited to be here today and to go through this with you. So, just a couple of things that we want to make you aware of as you're starting to approach AI. One of them is that we have a guidebook here in Canyon School District. It's called The View of AI. This is the framework that we work around for everything that we do. So, starting with our value of understanding, helping you have a strong foundation in AI, and looking at implementing safely, which you'll see here in a second. I have some things to talk you through. And then educational learning. How does that apply to your space? Scott has a phenomenal thing to show you about using the tool as a writing feedback tool and customizing it. And then how does that prepare our students for the world that they're going into? The world they're going into is going to be different. It's going to have AI, and we want our students to be ready for that. So here's our agenda. I talked to that a little bit, but we're going to go through some AI basics, look quickly at what Magicschool is, talk about some of those benefits of using this for the writing CFAs. And then we're going to spend most of the time doing some demonstrations. So show you actually how you can get in there to use it and then wrap up. So just to give you a start, when we're talking about AI, we're talking about artificial intelligence. And this is one of the definitions that we use. AI is a branch of computer science aimed at creating machines that mimic human intelligence. You as a teacher are the expert. You could go in, you could give writing feedback to 200 of your students. And Scott's going to talk a little bit more about this, but how that mimics the process and how it can help support you as an educator. We're going to be using things today that are a subset of that artificial intelligence, something called a chatbot. A chatbot is a computer program that's designed to simulate that conversation. It's a back and forth with this technology. Yeah, we asked ChatGPT a year ago today at this point, got this definition, but that's one of the things that you can talk to your students about as well is citing AI appropriately. So we got that definition from a chatbot. ChatGPT, to be specific, is a type of chatbot. Magicschool today that we'll show you has chatbots built in. It's just simulating that process. So when we're talking about AI, we're really talking about this generative AI over here. This is probably when it came on scene for you, when you heard about it. The example is ChatGPT. Magicschool is an example of generative AI. We've had AI around for a while. Started with this reactive AI, so anything that gets information and then reacts to it. If you've ever given an adaptive test, RICE testing, it gives you a question, and then if the student gets it right, it gives them a harder question. That's an adaptive test. That's a reactive AI. It's just programming, responds to it, doesn't learn from it at all. We also have predictive AI. This is when our systems started to become a little bit more advanced. It could take all of that data and then predict what it thought would happen. Still not learning from it, still not training on it, but it's making a prediction. The example I always give is Netflix. I love the Great British Baking Show. So all of my Netflix suggestions are all the other random shows like Is It Cake or the like Chef's Kitchen or whatever. I get all of those because of it. That's something you've encountered if you have like a Spotify suggestion or anything like that. That is a predictive AI. Came on scene for the general populace and with ChatGPT, that explosion, that's generative AI. It's different. It creates new content, it generates ideas from learned patterns. So instead of just predicting what it thinks will happen, it's actually learning from information that you put in and giving specific feedback and walking you through those processes. So obviously, if something's learning from you, we want to take some safety considerations into play. One of them that we want to always talk about is data privacy. We want to consider how these tools use the data. Are they learning from the data from you or their students? Are there age limits? Part of Scott and I's role here at the school district is to make sure that those tools that we're offering you use that appropriately. Magicschool does a great job. It doesn't train on student data. It learns in other ways and then brings the program in. So not something you have to worry about. The other thing is personally identifiable information. We wanna make sure that we're not putting that into AI ever, first and last names, email addresses. There's federal and state laws around it. This applies in its AI space similarly. The other thing 2 things that I think are really important to consider are AI bias. Um, Take a second for a moment, and I just want you to think about a flower in your head. Got a flower? I know we're not doing this live, so I'm hoping you've thought of one already. But I would be willing to bet that the flower that you thought of, if I said what color was the stem, your first reaction would be green. That's because you have a bias towards green flower stems. There are other colors. There are brown, there are black. But the problem is that AI, if all it had on a group of people, if everyone thought of green flower stems and that's the only reference material it has, then it creates a bias. Common thing that we see with this is like, I guess not common, but an example is that there was someone who wanted to use an AI chatbot for hiring. They gave it all of the information about their current employees. Turns out it was a startup company. They only had young employees. And so the AI automatically took out anyone that was like over the age of 40. Obviously a problem, right? So real world example there. This doesn't always happen, but ChatGPT came out in 2022. It is 2025. We're dealing with roughly a 2.5-year-old at this point. And so recognizing that it's still learning, it's adjusting, but there may be some bias, something to consider as an educator. The other thing that we see is AI hallucinations. AI is learning, it's filling things in. And just like our learners that we work with, they sometimes get things wrong. That happens with AI too. Not always, does a phenomenal job most of the time. The example that one of our team members uses is if you've ever seen Jurassic Park and they're like, we're going to take the dinosaur DNA and fill it in with the frog DNA, right? Sometimes when it fills in the gaps, you end up with great things, and sometimes you end up with terrifying dinosaurs. Just making sure that you're aware that what you're getting may not be 100% true, but you're going to fact check it just like you would any resource that you use in your classroom. You're going to review it, make sure it's accurate, things like that. Take a second, just gave you a lot of information. Pause this video and just process for a second. What surprised you about this information? Or what things are you thinking about? Give yourself some space, maybe write it down for a second. So we're going to give you a minute to pause. Perfect. I'm going to assume that you've paused the video at this point. And I don't think we need to pause for a minute here, but hopefully if you have questions and you're wondering about things, Scott's a great wingman pilot here, and we're happy to help support you in any way that we can. Okay, so let's talk about briefly about Magic School. This is going to be short because the next part is really some demos, which is what you want to see. But Magic School is a set of 60 plus tools. This is a screenshot here of what you'll see when you log in. It's both a student and a teacher platform. So they have Magic School for teachers and Magic Student for our students. And it allows you to utilize AI. So this is some brief information about it. What I want to show you today is more of how to get into that. But Scott has some things just to set us up before we approach into those demos. Hello, Scott.
Okay, the big question then here is why would I want to use Magic School to support formative assessment for an on-demand write? And in the past in Utah, we've used the Rise platform, which is more reactive in the way that it provides the feedback to the students. And some have used other antiquated platforms that have not been maintained in years and aren't aligned to standards and are really a shot in the dark. But using this and tailoring it and putting a little bit of work on the front end allows the teacher to be extremely specific about what they want to know about what their students know, to get that feedback that can drive instruction. And that's what we've created today, and we're going to share with you and hopefully give you a chance to use. But the five big benefits is one would be efficiency. You could put in tons of student work here and you can immediately get, which Memo will show that part today, but you can immediately get feedback. It might say, hey, what are the three things my students are struggling with that I need to reteach? And you'll know that by the end of the day, not week, not month, not having to schlep home essays and give up your nights, but you'll know that by the end of the day. Personalization, not only are you able to personalize and tailor what's happening or what you want graded, or you could unpack a part of a rubric and say, I really just want to hone in on their use of evidence. And I want to unpack that because this is how I taught it and tweak it. And then you can get personalized feedback based on what you're actually teaching. Not only that, but the students are also going to be getting personalized feedback because it's not a one and done. They can put it in, they can work with this, with Magic School, with this chatbot that we created, and it will guide them and provide feedback to them based on what we've inputted. So it's not just random, but it'll provide feedback to students. And the teachers who've used this have, so far, a few teachers have been using something like this, have been raving about it, just as a time saver and an amazing way for their students to get feedback, and how it's really helped their students to become better writers. Again, go back to what Emma said, though, the teachers are still reading the writing. They're still looking at it. They're still doing conferences with students. This isn't just something to, you go deal with the writing and I'll deal with this, but it's something that definitely complements and helps and saves time. Like I said earlier, feedback's instant. It can be as instant as you want. The kids are going to be getting it. You can get it looking over their shoulders. Once they've all submitted their best draft, then you can use that to really target and figure out, hey, here are the areas I want to hone in on for instruction for my students. It's data driven based on, again, what we input. And today we're going to input the old rubric for Rise. We don't have the new one yet, but when we do, we'll put that in there. And then collaboration, having this data so fast really allows for a conversation to happen at a PLC that's timely. I give my students do some writing for me for a couple days. And on day 3, I can walk in and I can say, hey, here are the areas that they're killing it. I'm super stoked that they're doing it this way. And here's the one thing I really thought they knew, but man, I got to go back and reteach that. And that can guide my PLC conversation. So a lot of stuff here, but it really is, this to me is a game changer. On-demand writing prompts. This is from a presentation that the state gave a couple months ago. So this is only in draft format, but basically we've written these before. You basically just go in and you say, it's on demand. So it's like one sitting, but you say, write an essay for an audience, write a persuasive letter to your governor about whether or not they should tear down a Abravanel Hall in downtown Salt Lake City. And then it'll give you a couple of articles, some that say, yes, we should because of progress, and some that say, no, we shouldn't because this place is amazing and has acoustics like no other place on the planet. And the kids would read those and then they'd come and they'd synthesize it. And it'll say, give them the guidelines. Be sure to present an argument that has a claim, counterclaim, uses evidence, elaborates, has a conclusion. And then it'll tell them manage your time, plan, write, revise, edit. The new rubric, from what I understand, is going to lean more on looking at this as an on-demand write versus before they looked at it as a process write, and which is mislabeled because it's a one sitting write. And so that's what we're going to be thinking about today.
Let's start with showing you how to set up a student room. There you go. This is Magic School. If you log in, you're going to click sign up for free. Mine's going to auto log me in. When you go to log in, it'll ask you if you're a student or an educator. If you've never had an account before, obviously you're an educator, sign up as an educator. And then you're going to click log in with Google. So as a district, we are piloting this tool right now. And that Google login is what will help you in the future as we look at adopting and things like that, if that's the direction that we decide to go. That would be what I'd recommend. Log in with your CSD Docs account. So on Magic School, we're going to go through setting up a student room. When you first log in, you'll be on the teacher dashboard. So this is our teacher dashboard here. It'll recommend some tools for you based on some information you put in. So like if you said, I'm an English teacher, then it will give you tools that are recommended for English teachers. And there's a lot of things here if you've never explored this. If you're looking for more information on Magic School, we do have two more other bite-sized videos, one specifically on Magic School and then one on Magic Student. So I would invite you to check those out. But today we're going to walk through how to set up a student room. So we're going to come over here and click this Launch to Students button. Click that. And this will take you to your student rooms dashboard. So you can see here, I have several student rooms that I've utilized. And we're going to click on Launch New Room. So it's this button in the top corner. And the first thing it's going to do is take us to the details screen. You're going to name your room with whatever works for you. Today, I'm going to call this a student example room or bite-sized PD. This grade level button is going to be the default for the tools you put in the room, but it will tailor how it's talking to your students in the grade level that they're. This is something that you're teaching, like a creative writing class or something, and you have students from multiple grade levels or whatever course it is. Try to pick towards the middle, but that'll adjust the language it's talking to you. So today I'm going to go ahead and say that this is a 10th grade room. This is a max number of students that can join the room. This number can be as big as you want, but once you reach that limit, it'll pause the room. This little toggle here, if you leave it on, it will require students to log in with their Google account. So if you want it to have their assigned name to them, I would leave that on, but that's totally up to you. Today, I'm going to turn that off because if you jump into this room on your own, I don't want you to have to log in with that account if you don't want to. Okay. And then this is tools for students. So to add them in, this is the tools page. I click to next up there. And I'm going to add in some tools. Today, you're going to see a custom chatbot. And then you just click on it. It says added now. You could also add writing feedback. If you don't want to tailor it too much, they have a character chatbot if you want them to talk to somebody. There's a ton of things they can use. You can also go over to this menu, click writing. These are a whole bunch of ones on writing, rewrite it, literary devices, whatever you want to add. This is just our sample room. Let's put in, just for fun, if you haven't seen this, let's put in song generator and tongue twisters if you just want to play with something fun. And then we're going to go to our next page. This is the configure page. So this is where you're going to be able to adjust and add some of those custom instructions. Scott's going to go into this in a little bit more just to show you how to update and some backend things he did there. But you can just hover, click customize, and then here you can customize the chatbot to what it is. So if we're doing one for writing feedback, this chatbot will help you with your writing. And you can see here, as I type, it adjusts this preview of what students will see. The other thing over here that you're going to want to know is when you're giving instructions. So these are like the guiding principles for the chatbot, which again, Scott's going to go and show you a couple of those things. You're going to want to click this eyeball. That disables your students from being able to see the instructions. And when it gives it to them, it also disables them from being able to adjust those instructions. We're going to turn those off. We're going to say this chatbot is looking specifically for grammatical errors. Okay, so I'm going to click next. And then it'll give you a chance to test what you put in. If I put something in, so it says, I understand checking for grammatical errors. This is a terrible, I'm spelling it wrong intentionally, terrible sentence. That is just a really long sentence. for the AI to give feedback on. Okay, so it's going to take that sentence and I just put it in, and then it's going to give me some grammatical errors. Misspelled terrible. This is a run on sentence. There's missing a period at the end. But you see how fast that was. If that's what I want to do, then I'm going to click that, click launch room. It's going to save my room for me, and then it's going to come up with some join information. So you can have your students join with a QR code. You can have them join with a link if you need that again. You can give them this link here. We aren't using Google Classroom, but you can put that into it. So there's a lot of different things there. Okay. Scott, are you ready to jump in and show them the feedback example?
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in. One thing, do you mind going back to edit and then, yeah, next or to the spot where they, maybe it's there. Yeah, go ahead and go into there. One thing Emma was telling me about this morning is that in the near future, we'll be able to share chatbots. So what I built today, I would be able to push out to you. What I'm going to do instead is just make a Google Doc, which we'll put a link in the notes of this, that you can just copy the prompt that I built, and you could put that in where it says instructions for chatbot, and you can modify it any way you want. But in the future, the chatbot would be able to be pushed out and you wouldn't have to even worry about it. So that's just the workaround for now.
As Scott's saying that too, you can save as template. So anything you put in, you could save it as a template and then you could come back to it over and over again. So once you grab it from that Google Doc, it'll be there for you if you save that. So thanks for grabbing that, Scott. And yes, it's coming. We're working with Magic School and should be here shortly. All right, I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to hand the screen over to Scott to show you the chatbot that he built specifically for this.
Okay, so here I am in my screen right here. And so I have all of this crazy, as you'll see, but as you find cool things, you add them to the top. But I'm going to go to launch students and take you right into hold on, get rid of that. Take you right in here where you can see what I've done. In December, I started playing around. I had a couple coaches go in and look at this as well and built a chatbot for a CFA with the goal being that it was tailored. The feedback was all of the 5 things we talked about earlier. I'm going to go to edit room just so you can see what's happening behind the scenes, and then I'll move forward. So again, I just put in arbitrarily 8th grade here. Let's see. There's my writing chatbot. And my goal was to have a chatbot that had a conversation with the students, that was there to support them. A couple things as I was building it out. You'll see it's long, by the way. It's a giant chatbot, but I'm basically really getting into it with this, and I'm having it go step by step. I'm forcing the AI to ask them to do this before they do this. In a way, I considered like this was like a TA. And if I had a TA that I wanted to work with my students, how would I explain to my TA what I wanted? And so that's what I did as I came through. One of the things I noticed was that it wanted to give feedback that actually gave them specific ways to fix their specific essay. And I didn't want that to happen. So I had written in there for this to use other types of essays and mentor texts with the students, not to show them what they might do with their own, but not on the same topic as their own. Again, things like keep the interaction conversational with the student, keep the feedback short. This knowledge down here, this is where you can say, okay, this is what I want you to draw from when you're giving feedback to my students. So what I have here is I have a 6th grade annotated informative writing piece that was graded high. This is from UEN. So this is what the state has put out as their piece. I might save PDFs of my own students' writing as the year goes and put that in here without their name on it or anything like that. But like to say, here's what a high score looks like. Here's someone who's still working on it. But I also have the rubric, the RISE Informative Writing rubric that I'm having it look at right there. Again, I might go ahead and say, I'm only looking at, this is a CFA, I'm only looking at in-text citations, and I would put that in and change a little bit of the verbiage for that. So behind the scenes, nothing to just tweak, tinker. It's where you go to tinker. So let me go in. So I'm here, I say launch students, and I'm going to play as though I'm in this room right here. All right. So here I am, and I'm showing you student view now. So I'm a student, Scott C. I'm joining this room. It's going to give me this thing as a student, like, hey, be responsible. They can see what you do. Basically, all the safety precautions too. and don't let it take over your thinking. As a student, here is the one tool that I have available in this one. This is what the teachers have been using it, have been doing. And so as a kid, I'm going to click on that, and it's going to say, I'm here to support you with your writing. Once you have opened me up, select the generate button below to get started. And so I'm a kid, I hit generate, and it's going to start talking to me like it's a mentor or a peer. Hi, I'm your friendly writing mentor, and I'm here to help improve your informative writing. I'll provide specific feedback and examples to help strengthen your work. Before we begin, could you let me know which grade you're in, sixth, seventh, or eighth? This will help me provide the most appropriate guidance for you. Now, the rubrics that I put in were for sixth, seventh, and eighth. You could change this to ninth, 10th, 11th, 12th. You could do this for fifth grade, but I just tailored it based on what I had put in. So I'm a student. He says, what grade are you in? So I'm going to say, okay, I'm in the seventh grade. So I've done that. Now it says, oh, cool. Okay, great to meet you. Before we look at your writing, what do you want feedback on? And it's drawing now on the rubric or whatever I would put in there. Do you want feedback on organization structure, using evidence effectively, developing your ideas, making clear connections, or transitions? Let me know and then share your writing with me. So I might say, actually, I want feedback on all of it. On all of it. This is my first draft. Okay. And so at this point, then it's going to say, sweet, go ahead and paste your first draft in here. So I have some student writing samples in 3 different drafts. And so I'm going to go ahead and put those in and we'll see what it does. So here I am right here, my first draft. It's pretty bad based on a prompt. This prompt was about community service, and there was an article that went along with it. So this is the feedback that it's given me as a student. It says, hey, thanks for sharing. I can see you're writing about a service project focused on pollinators. Let me provide some specific feedback based on the rubric strengths. You have a clear main idea, you have relevant details. You attempt to organize your thoughts around different project benefits. Areas for improvement, organization. It provides a score of what it might have given them. But what I wanted it to do is, what do you got to do to make it better? So they don't just hang on, oh, we'll go to 2. So need a stronger introduction that clearly states your main topic, add transitions, and then work on your evidence and elaboration. We need specific examples and develop your ideas. So then it gives right here, let me show you an example of how to strengthen the introduction on a different topic to avoid doing the work for you. Love that. And so it does, it gives them a mentor text to basically do what it says up here. And then it asks, would you like to try revising your introduction first? Then we can work on the other sections together. Remember, I just want to help you out. Dot, 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 dot. So I go in to my student writing samples, and we're just going to focus on the next draft of the introduction. So as a kid, I'm writing, okay, here's my introduction, my revised introduction. So my kids are doing this, right? You can imagine like they're doing this while I'm walking the room and working one-on-one, or I'm working with my students that I know need maybe a pullout or a small group to rotate with. But here it is. It goes, hey, so I wrote a new introduction there. Hey, that's a good improvement. You made the topic clear and you gave readers a preview of what you'll discuss. Let's make it stronger by connecting it specifically to your goals. So on, so on. It says, would you like to try revising again? Here's what to include: the project proposal, the community problem it addresses, the main ways it meets the service goals. Remember to be specific but concise. Would you like to try another revision of the introduction? And so, yes, I do. So I go and I'm working on my new introduction. I'm writing as a kid, da, 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 and I write my new introduction. And I go, oops, wrong one. I've gone in, I wrote my new one. Sure thing. Here's my new introduction. And now it's saying it's much stronger. You've clearly done this. Here are the strengths. And it still gives me suggestions. As a kid right now in class or as a student, I'm basically going through and I'm getting feedback, and it's helping me with the introduction. And all of this feedback is based on what I've told it to do on the rubric I put in on the student samples I wanted it to reference. And you can see as a kid, I'm slowly getting better and better as I'm moving forward with this. So that's a demonstration of what the students would be doing. What I'd love to show you now, or have Emma show you now, is how does this help you on the back end? So my kids have spent a day that I gave them a prompt. I gave them something to read. They're going back and forth with this while I'm doing small groups. with other students. They have their best draft. And now I need to know what are their strengths and weaknesses given their best draft. And I need to know that fast so I can take that information to my PLC. I'm going to now hand it over to Emma.
Perfect. And thanks, Scott, for letting me pull up a couple of screens so we can show you that because first off, that was phenomenal. Like I'm so excited the way that Scott has prompted this and that you'll be able to use this in your spaces. So let's go back to Magic School. We're going to show you the back end, like Scott said. To get there, you're going to go to launch to students. And these are all of your student rooms. And I actually already have the room open that Scott has been working in. So I'm going to open that over here. And you can see here is the people that have tried it. So Emma in my class, Krista, Peter Parker, and then Scott. So here I can pull up from what Scott's doing and I can see it's flagged a couple of things for some reason because it's probably in the prompt because it's using it over and over again. So it's looking for some of those common things. But I can see here, this is the prompt. It's not sharing that. You didn't see that on your end, but you did see these. So here's that conversation you just saw Scott put in and you can see their strengths and things at the end of that. I can get those from every conversation and see what's happening. Right now, it's flagging some moderation for different things. You can view it. So if your students put in things that are inappropriate words, language, if there are certain things, it'll actually just pause the room for them. So as a whole, you can you can pause or lock any room. You can also pause and lock it for it's individual students. So let's say you were like, work on this for 30 minutes. Then I'm going to pause group A. I'm going to find those students, pause, lock it. They're going to come meet with me. We're going to talk about what's happening. Great way to do it. Right now, Magic School, the way I'm doing it is apparently I'm the problem child. I'm pulling this section from each student. And you may be saying to yourself, like, I don't want to do that for all 200 of my students. We've been working with Magic School to be able to have a way for you to just export that. So you would export a spreadsheet, you would upload the spreadsheet, and then it would take all of that information and put it in for you. So that's coming. For right now, what we did is I just pulled those paragraphs from every student, just copied and pasted them into Raina. So Raina is Magic School's chatbot. It's like the chat GPT for education. And what I did is I pulled all of those strengths and weaknesses. So I said, this is feedback on the essays that I got. Tell me some general trends. So I pulled in all those strengths and weaknesses from those 5 students I had. And very quickly it said, based on this feedback, these are some general trends, but I don't want 6 of them, right? I want a couple that I can have actionable things on very quickly. So then I told it from all these essays, what are the top 3 common trends? And these are those trends. So one of them, improved transitions. They said this is the most prominent trend and then gave me some more details on why. Strengthening connection between evidence and main points, enhance overall organizations. They've grasped the basics of essay structure. They need to focus on more advanced writing techniques. There you can see what's happening. Most of these essays that we put in, by the way, were intended examples to have errors like this from students. And so we wanted to see what those were, but very quickly generated maybe 2, I want to say, can you make these top 3 in bullet points with specific actionable steps and an overall idea for a lesson to help teach these? Maybe you just want a little bit more support on that. So very quickly, it's going to say, certainly, here's that bulleted list with these top 3. And here's a lesson idea, building bridges and writing with a breakdown of how you could do that. Again, keeping in mind, this is AI and you are the educator. AI needs humanity. AI needs you to make this better. But it's helpful just to quickly give that trend overview, get that information back, see where students are at, and move forward so you can help adjust and give them the feedback they need formatively to get better. Scott, anything else that you felt like you wanted to show in terms of backend?
No, I think that there's just a lot of power in there, how quickly you're able to get in there and say, okay, this is what I'm focusing on. I can see so many uses for this, not only as a replacement, say for the DWISBA, where the district-wide writing piece with CFAs, but I know that one of the things I did in my first week is I had my students do a writing sample for me. I could learn more about their reading ability by reading their writing. And so to have something like this just to give me the trends and guide as using it as a pre-assessment almost, and have something like this. Obviously, I'm going to read some essays. I'm probably going to read 10% of them or 20% of them. And I'm also going to be reading over my students' shoulders, so I know where they are. But I think just having something that's this concrete and that is nudging them forward, that's personalized and nudging them forward, and for me, telling me like, here are where here's where they're rocking it, and here's where you could maybe go back and re-instruct. It's just really powerful.
I think it's an amazing tool. We recognize too that we went through and showed you a demo. I just wanted to point out that in the slides, we do have some resources for you on setting up a student room. This will go through that in a minute with you. This is a longer walkthrough. We also have that for accessing teacher view. So the two parts that I did, Scott will also link in that Google Doc here on this slide so that you can have that information and be able to grab it quickly from what we've presented today.
So given that, one thing to consider is as a result of today's learning, what do you plan to do? What supports do you need? Please reach out. We would love to help you. We are out in schools helping people with stuff just like this already. So if you didn't know that that's going on, jump on the ship. We'd love to help you as well. And if there's something you'd like to learn more about, maybe today spark a new idea. I know I'm getting them all the time. I'm like, oh my gosh, I could build a chatbot for this. I could build it for that. I wish I could build a chatbot to do my laundry for me. And I know Emma feels the same.
Yes,
But
absolutely.
but if there's ever anything you want to learn more about, let us know, and if it exists or if we can build it, we will.
I just want to say thank you. Thanks for watching this bite-sized PD with us. We do have a website, canyonsdistrict.org/AI, that has all of our resources, our PD, things like that on it. Currently going through an update refresh. So look for things over the next month or so. And then we'd love to get your feedback. So if you do bit.ly/feedback, the number 4, and then all lowercase AI team, that will take you to our feedback form. And we would love to get feedback from you. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.